All right, class. My name is Caleb. Today we're going to be reading Grand Canyon by Jason Chin. Look at this beautiful book. Look at all this red rock out here. The Grand Canyon. It's huge. So, the Grand Canyon is located in Arizona. Who knows how far away Arizona is? It's on the other side of this country, it's on the other side of America. We live on the East Coast here in Buffalo, but the Grand Canyon is closer to the West Coast. Grand Canyon. Look at how beautiful this is. This big cat right here. Can you believe that Jason Chin, the author, is also the illustrator of this book? He did both. Beautiful. The Grand Canyon is one of the largest canyons in the world. It is 277 miles long, as much as 18 miles wide, and more than a mile deep. But it's much more than just a big hole in the ground. Can you believe that? That's huge. A mile deep and 277 miles long? That would take you a day to drive across. Massive. It's home to an astonishing variety of plants and animals. The canyon is much hotter and drier at the bottom than at the top. Because of this, different groups of plants and animals or ecological communities are found at different elevations in the canyon. The hottest part of the canyon is at the very bottom, a 1,000-foot deep chasm called the Inner Gorge. Can you believe that? Different ecological communities live at different layers of the rock because the temperature differs so much from the bottom to the top. The Inner Gorge may be the hottest part of the canyon, but there are oases in this desert. You can see it's nighttime, so it kind of blends in, but there's this river running through here and this big cat drinking from it. Creeks bring life-giving water into the gorge, and a wide variety of species live along their banks, including frogs, dragonflies, mule deer, and the endangered southwestern willow flycatcher. An endangered species, that means there's not a lot of them around. Many of these creatures are permanent residents that rely on running water for survival, while others are visitors, drawn here by their thirst. Kind of like me and you. If we were to go here, we'd just be visitors, and we'd get kind of thirsty. Maybe drink a little bit of water. Eventually, every creek in the canyon flows into the largest stream of all. So all these little streams here, they all flow into something bigger. And look at all these beautiful animals all along the border here. These are some of the animals that live along the river here. The red-spotted toad, the spotted skunk, PU. The spotted bat, whoa, southwestern willow flycatcher. So let's see where all these streams flow into. The Colorado River. That's huge. Look at how huge it is. And these beautiful big valleys, look at how tiny they look. The Colorado runs the entire length of the Grand Canyon, continually washing sediment away and slowly deepening its channel. It's been cutting into the land for around 5 million years, slicing through layer after layer of rock. Today it is cutting into the Vishnu basement rocks. These rocks are part of the continental basement, the bottommost layer of the rock on the continent. The bottommost layer. That's crazy. The basement rocks are the oldest in the canyon, as much as 1.84 billion years old. Many younger rock layers are stacked on top of them. If you hike out of the canyon, you'll pass younger and younger layers as you climb, as if walking up through time. Can you imagine that? Walking up through time. As you walk higher and higher into the canyon, you're passing these layers of rock that get younger and younger. And when you walk down into the canyon, you're walking down into time. They get older and older as you walk down into them. Above the basement layer, you'll reach the Grand Canyon supergroup. Here you may find ripple marks preserved in the stone. Clues like these tell us what this place was like when the rock formed. They're like windows. So let's see what it used to be like. Windows to the past. Wow. That looks like a totally different environment. This is Grand Canyon 1.2 billion years ago, when the only living things on Earth were microbes, such as algae and bacteria. Although they were too small to see, these primitive organisms filled the oceans and were some of the earliest life forms on the planet. Can you believe they lived 1.2 billion years ago? And this is what the Grand Canyon looked like. It looks very different. I don't really see much of a canyon. After climbing out of the inner gorge, you'll find yourself on a broad, sun-baked slope. The plants and animals here are well adapted for life, with little water. Not much water up there. Black-throated sparrows can go for long periods without taking a drink. Many creatures sleep during the heat of the day. Pocket mice forage at night and are preyed on by owls and rattlesnakes, who are adapted for hunting in the dark. How spooky. That sounds like a really hard place to live. Not much water, and then you got rattlesnakes chasing after you, and it's super hot. I don't know if we could live there. I don't know if we're adapted to live there. I like my house. I like my cozy house with my air conditioning. These animals are living on the rock layer called the Bright Angel Shale, which formed more than 200 million years ago after the Grand Canyon supergroup. Trilobite fossils in the rocks tell us that this spot, what is a trilobite? It's this little guy right here. Some kind of fossil. Trilobite fossils in the rocks tell us that this spot once lay beneath the sea. Are you kidding me? The Grand Canyon used to be underneath the ocean? Let's find out. This is Grand Canyon 5.15 million years ago. By this time, in Earth's history, many multicellular plants and animals had evolved. Soft-bodied jellyfish floated above clam-like brachiopods. And tiny hylothos, some of the first creatures on Earth with shells. Trilobites, the first animals known to have had eyes, roamed the sea floor. Around them, worm-like creatures burrowed in the sediment that eventually transformed into the Bright Angel Shale. Look at all these crazy-looking creatures. Can you believe these used to thrive and live in the Grand Canyon? These big shells underneath the ocean. And these jellyfish over here. There used to be jellyfish in the Grand Canyon. How crazy. Towering over the Bright Angel Shale is a massive cliff called the Redwall Limestone. The Redwall has many inaccessible caves that provide nesting spots for one of the rarest birds in the world, the California condor. Look at how huge that bird is. That is just magnificent. with a 9-foot wingspan. 9 feet? That's huge. I'm 6 feet tall, all right? And I'm still not as big as the wingspan of this bird. That's ginormous. With a 9-foot wingspan and weighing as much as 23 pounds, the condor is the largest land bird in North America. Condors are vultures, and during the Ice Age, they fed on the carcasses of mega beasts like giant ground sloths. What? Giant ground sloths? Since then, their population has declined due to changes in climate and human activity, and now they are close to extinction. What a beautiful bird. That would be really cool to see. If you go to the Grand Canyon, maybe you get to see one. Above the red wall cliff is a slope of rust red rock. The climate here is as hot and dry as below, and pinyon pines and Utah junipers are common. Many creatures such as squirrels, chipmunks, and wood rats eat their seeds. These small rodents are preyed on by gophers, snakes, and coyotes. Gopher snakes and coyotes, those seem kind of spooky. At the top of the slope is the rock layer called the Hermit Formation. Fossils in the Hermit tell us that long ago this spot was home to, let's see, what was it home to? Huge dragonflies with 8-inch wingspans. Can you imagine a dragonfly with an 8-inch wingspan? That's massive. That's bigger than any dragonfly I've ever seen before. This is Grand Canyon 280 million years ago. By this time, life was flourishing. Flourishing, that's one of our vocabulary words. Flourishing on land and trees, ferns, fish, amphibians, and reptiles had evolved. Sorry, I lost my spot. The sea had retreated from the region, and rivers flowed across the landscape. Seed ferns and conifers grew along their banks, and amphibians left their tracks in the mud that eventually transformed into the Hermit Formation. Unbelievable. I can't believe how many different environments the Grand Canyon has looked like. It's a huge canyon now, but it used to be underneath the ocean, and now it's this flourishing environment with all these huge dragonflies. Above the red slopes of the Hermit are pale 350-foot cliffs. Bighorn sheep easily navigate their narrow ledges with specially adapted hooves. In the fall mating season, males compete for dominance by smashing into each other with their battering ram horns. How crazy is that? They're just running into each other. They got these strong heads, not like us. We have soft heads. I don't know if we would last very long if we started banging our heads together. These cliffs have been carved from the Coconino sandstorm. Fossil footprints in the rock tell us that on this spot, 275 million years ago, an early reptile walked across huge windswept dunes with little water. What in the world? It looks totally different again. It's a desert now. And look at this little creature. With little water, life here would have been difficult. But the desert wasn't entirely barren. Among the other species that called it home were scorpions, millipedes, and spiders. Ew, creepy. And spiders. As the desert wind whipped across the landscape, sand piled up in thin layers. Today, those layers are preserved in the Coconino sandstone as thin, angled surfaces called crossbeds. How cool is that? I just can't believe how different the Grand Canyon looked. As you approach the rim of the canyon, the climate becomes cooler and more moist. Vegetation on the sloping Torweep formation is more dense than below. Before exiting the canyon, however, there is one more layer to scale, the Kaibib Formation. So the very last formation before you reach the top. The Kaibab's limestone cliffs are full of marine fossils that tell us about life here 270 million years ago. Look at these. These look like shells. When the ocean again covered the land, fossils in the Kaibab Formation tell of a complex ecosystem. The sea floor was home to sea lilies and bryozoans, sponges and coral. Trilobites and brachiopods lived alongside them, while nuatiloids and as many as 40 species of shark patrolled the water above them. Sharks lived in the Grand Canyon. That's unbelievable. Many of these creatures, such as coral and brachiopods, had hard shells. When they died, their shells piled up on the sea floor and eventually transformed into the limestone of the Kaibab Formation. That is crazy. Look at all of these shells. So they all hardened over time, and they create the Kaibab Formation. So again, the Grand Canyon was under the ocean 2 times now in the past 500 or so million years. If you ascend from the Colorado River to the south rim of Grand Canyon, you will have climbed nearly 5,000 feet and passed through 3 distinct habitats. Above the rim, you'll find one more. One more habitat? One more. The Ponderosa Pine Forest is home to tassel-eared squirrels, deer and elk, bobcats, coyotes, and hawks hunt here, as well as the top predators in the canyon, mountain lions. How spooky is that? So this is right now in time, I'm pretty sure, that there are all these beautiful animals in this forest at the top of the Grand Canyon. Because of the great size and depth, Grand Canyon has a wide range of climates and habitats, and species that call the canyon home today survive on ancient rocks that tell us about the here long before there was a canyon. It's taken millions of years of weathering and erosion to expose these rocks and shape this breathtaking landscape. And these processes continue to this day, relentlessly excavating for us. Oh, what do we got here? How gorgeous is that? Take a look at this. Just the panoramic view of this beautiful canyon and just how huge it is. Ginormous. The greatest canyon on Earth. So that's it for today. The Grand Canyon by Jason Chin. What a beautiful book. I need to go back. Who wants to go to the Grand Canyon? Because I sure do. Have a good day. Hope you enjoyed.